having surgery. And so he's going to miss the next 8 weeks. On top of that, there is, I guess, sort of an update on Jonathan Kuminga, and what's going on with that situation. So let's talk about those two things in this live stream. So the Tyler Herro thing is very interesting because it kind of feels like it came out of nowhere. I wasn't really paying attention to, I guess, Tyler Herro's, what was happening with him this summer. So maybe people who follow Tyler Herro very closely, it's not a shock. But to me, I was like, wait, surgery? Like, that's, news to me. So he's going to miss 8 weeks, which means he's going to miss at least, 8 weeks from today would be what? Like, today's what, September 19th or something like that? So obviously a month from now would be like October 19th, and the season usually starts like maybe like October 22nd or, something around there. So he's going to at least miss a few weeks of the season at the minimum. So that is not good news for Miami because they are depending on Tyler Herro to be one of their stars, one of their, leading scorers. Maybe the leading scorer. Depends on, Bam, him, Norman Powell, you got now Andrew Wiggins, but like he is definitely one of the choices to be, one of the leading scorers and one of the primary options on offense. So not having Tyler Herro is a huge loss for Miami. I talked about how they got Norman Powell in the trade, which will definitely help them in terms of like not having Tyler Herro because they both are very good scorers. So unfortunately now they won't have the option of like, those two, very, very good scorers on their own, like together to bounce off each other because obviously the more scoring you have, the better, right? But at least, they have Norman Powell to pick up some of the scoring slack, that Tyler Herro, would be doing if, they didn't have Norman Powell. If they didn't have Norman Powell, then you, like, don't really have anybody to replace him, if that makes sense. You know what I'm talking about? Like, from, like, the shooting guard position. Obviously, they're going to, depend on Wiggins and Bam and everybody else, to pick up all the scoring and other things that Tyler Herro does. You can't replace Tyler Herro. Of course, you really can't replace anybody in the NBA. Whenever you lose an important player, that's, the unfortunate part of injuries. Like, yes, the team will rally around and try to, compensate in every way they can. But, like, at the end of the day, you still can't replace the player, if that makes sense, as long as they're not, like, traded or anything. So, it's definitely a loss for Miami, but I do think, I think they'll be able to get around it. I always talk about on this channel how, Eric Spoelstra, gets the most out of everybody, and if anybody can figure out how to, keep the team afloat without their Tyler Herro or, without Jimmy at times last year and throughout Miami's history with Eric Spoelstra, he is, one of the coaches that meaning everybody, but I'm saying like I can depend on to know that he will figure out a way to make sure that they are still performing. Again, obviously you can't replace Tyler Herro and you'll miss him and it'll make it harder to win games, but they definitely can, I believe they can stay afloat as long as Tyler Herro isn't going to miss, a large portion of the season, and then you're looking at a different scenario. But if he's back by, let's say, December, maybe, 8 weeks would be sometime in November. So if he's back by like December-ish, I think they should be, fine. Like, again, they might not be where they want it to be, but they should be able to, be fine enough. And then let's talk about the Jonathan Kuminga situation quickly. So, we have an update. Jonathan Kuminga was apparently offered 3 years, $75 million, which that's a nice offer, you know what I'm saying? But like, the sticking point apparently is that he wants a player option and the Warriors are not giving him a player option. And we obviously know, or if you don't know, maybe you don't know, the significance of a player option versus a team option for Jonathan Kuminga or any player for that instant is that if it's a team option, and let's say he's going into the last year of his deal, and let's just say the year prior he didn't have a great year, and he's going to be owed whatever amount of money, 75 per year, divide that by 3, and get your approximate value, right? So he's going to be making, a decent amount of money. So if he accepts that deal and it's a team option, whatever team he's on, whether it's, the Warriors still or any other team, if they feel like they don't want to pay him that money, if he has that team option, part, the team can just decline it, and then he's a free agent, and then he doesn't get that, guaranteed money. And, the reason a team would decline a player option could be for multiple, a team option would be for multiple reasons. But one of the, I guess, probably biggest reason that a team would decline a team option, again, is if a player is not performing up to the standards that they believe they should be and not giving them the quote-unquote value of the money that they're paying them. So if a team is feeling that way about Kuminga, again, allegedly and hypothetically in this scenario, if a team is feeling that way and they decline his team option, the chances of him getting more or the same amount of money in free agency, whatever year that is unlikely because, again, a team wouldn't get rid of you if they feel like you're giving them, in their opinion, whether it's, fair or not or true or not, like giving them the value that they feel, you should be giving them based on your salary and providing the team with winning and all that stuff. So that's why it's significant, because if it's a player option, then Jonathan Kuminga has the power. So he can decide, let's just say again, hypothetically, he doesn't have a great year before his contract year. And so in that scenario, he can decide, I'm going to accept my player option so I can have my guaranteed $20+ million, and I get to play the season out, and then he gets to, let's just say, have a great comeback year that year. Then he goes into free agency and he gets his bag again, right? Like it's like a redemption. Or if he plays, really well in that like second year of his deal, if he has, because it can go oppositely as well. Let's say Kuminga breaks out and now he's like an MVP candidate, all that stuff, right? If he has a player option, then he can decline his player option and renegotiate and get a much larger contract and potentially a 4-year max or whatever it is. Because he's like, hey, I'm an MVP candidate now and all this stuff. So instead of the 6 million he would be making, now he gets those big bags, like 40 million, you know what I'm saying? And it'll be a long-term guaranteed money for another 4 years. 40 million for, per year for 4 years. As opposed to the team option, where, again, in this scenario, he's now an MVP candidate, like, he's the guy, like, other teams want him, all this stuff, right? And other teams are willing to pay him the big bag. But the team has the option instead of the player option, and so they're like, we're going to, accept his team option at $26 million because that's a bargain. That's a steal for us. Like, we don't want to pay him $50 million, because if we can get the value of an MVP candidate at $20 million, they're like, we're going to do that, right? So that's really the significance of a team option versus a player option. And for someone like Jonathan Kuminga, who has like, we don't know everything that's happened, all the ins and outs and stuff like that, but he seems to, and we believe that he really wants, a starting role, to be a star. And like, that's fair enough. Like, everybody who goes into the NBA wants to be a star, of course. So he's not wrong for wanting to be a star and stuff like that. But depending on the, contract, the way that it's set up, player option, I'll talk about the no trade clause in a second. Those things really not determine, but kind of determine the power. Who has the power, a team or the player? And because Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent right now, he doesn't really have the power, as opposed to, like, again, a player option or something like that. And players want to have the power to decide where they want to go and stuff like that, and that's fair enough. It's the NBA, so this is how contracts work. So, like, obviously he knows restricted free agency was coming. But of course you want to be able to choose where you want to go and stuff like that, right? So the issue, I guess, that Kuminga is having right now, the other thing that's being reported is stuff like that, is that with the other contract that they offered him, I believe with the 2-year 45, and just in general, they want him to forego his inherent no trade clause. And of course he doesn't want that. And we know why the team would want that, right? And if you don't know why, I'll explain. The no trade clause, Bradley Beal had one. And basically what that means is, like, let's say the Warriors signed him to the 2-year 45 deal that they offered him and he accepted it, but he gave up his no trade clause that he inherently gets. Then at the trade deadline, if they want to send him to whatever team, and they get to pick whatever offer they feel is best for them, the Warriors as an organization, but it may not be best for Kuminga, or Kuminga feels that it's not best for him, he would have no say. I mean, like, they would obviously, like, teams are not trying to, well, okay, I don't know. We don't know about every situation, but I feel like teams are not, it depends. I'm not even going to say they're not trying to, they're trying to do what's best for the team. Let's put it that way. They're not necessarily trying to put the player who they are trading in a bad position. But at the end of the day, they're trying to do what's best for the organization because they work for the organization. They want to win. It's business. It's a little personal. It's, not always fair from both sides, from the player side and from the organization side. That being said, though, so if he gave up his no trade clause, if the Warriors decided, like, hey, we want to send you here, and they found an offer that they like best, they do it, and Kuminga really doesn't, again, have a say necessarily. Whereas if he has his no trade clause, then if the same situation came up, the only way the Warriors could trade him is if Kuminga agreed. If he's like, I want to go there, I like that place, stuff like that. I like that deal. It sounds good. And so that is the significance of that part of the negotiations that is also holding up, them coming to agreement, which is why we hear reports that Kuminga is potentially, interested in taking the qualifying offer. I mean, it's tough because, like, again, 3 years, $75 million is still 3 years, $75 million, so it's tough to say no to that. I really don't know where this is going to end up, honestly. Like, I don't know where it's going to end up. Somebody said, I hope you find your right audience, you know your details. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys are all enjoying, who are watching on the live stream. I hope you guys, enjoy the content, and anybody who's watching, after the live stream, I hope you enjoyed it as well. I love the NBA, and I just try to provide you guys with, content that you would enjoy, because I like making videos and stuff like that. So thank you. I appreciate that. So I don't really know where it's going to end up with Jonathan Kuminga. Remains to be seen. It's probably one of the trickier situations that I remember, because I feel like there is so many so many ways it can go at this point, and I really don't know which way it's actually going to go. Somebody said Kuminga turned down $75 million for 3 years. That's a great offer. His agent should advise him to take the deal. Well, I'll just quickly say the reason that he turned it down, apparently is because of the team option, which I just explained a few minutes prior. Not trying to be, mean to you, but when this live stream uploads, you can go back and watch. I explain why, and you may already know, team option versus player option, but I just explained for everybody who might not know the significance of having the team option, the player option, in that $75 million deal, and that was kind of the sticking point, apparently. Whether or not he changes his mind and takes it, even though it's a team option instead of a player option, we don't know. But that was kind of the, issue. So, thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.